This insightful post was made by ClearedX 1 billion. Its significance could be colossal given that if Citadel, one of the worst hedge funds operating today, is margin called and forced to cover, then it's extremely likely the squeeze will start violently, and the price of GME would teleport into another universe. Connection between Kenny G flights to Europe and Africa, and Kenny G TV interviews, and Citadel changing rules and not allowing more than 6.5% withdrawal in a quarter. Talk to a very wrinkled investor with 43 years experience, who is a multi-millionaire based on buffet-style value investing. Before that he used to turn around companies successfully. PhD in risk management. First thing he said, Citadel locking funds is very sus. Locking funds is what banks and funds will do when they are in danger of going bankrupt. He talked about government takeovers of banks in various countries, and the first thing they do is lock up funds for 90 to 180 days, so that there are no bank runs and the bank doesn't get bankrupted. Customers can't withdraw. Suppliers and vendors don't get paid. Bank fund has to lock up funds to ensure survival. Second thing he said, Citadel locking up funds and saying no more than 6.5% withdrawn in a quarter or pay a fee is a sign of desperation, and it's a joke US is allowing it. He started laughing when I mentioned the caveat that if you withdraw funds, Citadel will not let you invest with them again. He thought that was a blackmail style move, made from a position of weakness. On his own, he mentioned that there are 3 categories of investors: 10-30-60, top 10% that have invested 60% of the funds that Citadel has under management. Next 30% that have 30% of funds. Final 60% only have 10% of the funds. In normal circumstances, a hedge fund or a bank will not care at all about these 60% small fish, because they only account for 10% of assets under management. On his own, without me talking about Kenny G flying around the world for the last 3 months, he said that you would only do lockup of funds if you had lost some of your Category A investors, the big ones that are just 10% in number but account for 60% of funds. You start worrying about small fish if, and only if, the whales start leaving. Third thing he said, his eyes literally lit up, when I told him about Kenny G flying around the world. He said it would seem that the Category A investors are the ones Kenny G was trying to convince, flying around the world, so that the major part of assets under management, 60%, was secure. That the funds lockup suggests he lost some or many of the big whales, that now he needs the little fish, even though they have just 10% of funds. Survival time. This also explains the interviews and clubhouse chats. Kenny G trying to convince the big guns that Citadel is not in trouble. Appear strong when you are weak. Really, it was a crazy eureka moment, because everything suddenly makes sense. World tour and interview tour to convince whales not to leave, but some whales still left. Citadel in trouble because their assets under management going down, so now small fish are told their funds are locked. He said that Kenny G would lock up funds and entrap the smaller investors. Most likely means he has lost some of the big investors, the top 10% that account for 60% of assets under management. Because if he had not lost any of the big guns, then there is no need to lock up and entrap the small fish investors. From all this super stonks possible conclusions, possible takeaways are perhaps that A. Kenny G World Tour was to convince whales to not remove their funds from Citadel. Kenny G has been flying around the world for the last 3 to 4 months to reassure these whales. B. Kenny G interview and TV tour is also to convince whales that Citadel is not in trouble. C. Some whales did lose confidence and withdrew funds. This is conjecture, mind you. D. Because of this, Citadel is in deep trouble, and for the remaining small investors it has locked up their funds, because if they start withdrawing, then Citadel will go bankrupt.